Stay there for a second because, Nigel, Sean, you're on Classic Hits. Nigel believes, obviously, he's a healthcare worker, so it's not a big deal for him to wear a mask. He wears them on a regular basis anyway. But would you wear them? Are you wearing them, Sean?
No, I wouldn't like to wear one. I mean, it's difficult on public transport. There's pressure there on people. But they do say in the rules that if you don't wear one, you can't be judged by the other passengers.
Well, you need a reason not to wear one by law on public transport. Now, not in relation to retail because there's no legislation yet. It's a guideline. But in relation to public transport, you do need a reason not to wear one. You have to have either a disability or special needs or somebody who suffers...
or suffer distress.
Distress, yeah.
Yeah, like I tried wearing one on transport last week and it gave me a very bad headache. So it would, put you off from going on public transport if you had to wear one. I do think it's just state control. It's like you said, the WHO even came out and said it's not effective.
Now they've obviously changed their minds, obviously now, because
they're flipping.
They're flipping back and forth. That was the 31st of March they made that statement, by the way.
It's like a communist country where they make the people do something against reason or logic. It's like Mao China. They had
Nigel has given the logic. Even if the scientific studies show there's no benefit, if practically somebody's life was saved because of it, isn't it worth it?
That's just someone's opinion. Like someone else might think, like the analogy you gave with driving at 5 kilometers an hour. We have to find a way to live. We can't be 100% safe all the time.
No, we can't.
We'd never leave the house.
But I suppose that during a pandemic and it's an emergency, the idea, I suppose, that Nigel would make is we have to take steps to do everything in our power possibly that we can do and cooperate.
But the idea of the pandemic we had originally from China is totally different from what we have in reality. Like they were showing us videos of people collapsing in the street,
which never happened,
and that never came here. So
I remember getting those videos at the very start, going back in February, I think it was, of people literally dying on streets, and everybody thought, oh my God, this is awful. And the WHO said there was a 5% mortality rate, which we now know is completely untrue. The mortality
Unfortunately, rate. On Patrick Street in Cork, I did see an elderly lady. She kind of slumped over on the street, but it wasn't because of the virus; it was exhaustion. Because it was just at the start of the pandemic, and she was trying to get her shopping, and she had heavy bags.
Okay.
And she was there, so it's like...
Was she okay?
She was. People helped her straight away.
Okay.
But it's like the virus didn't hurt her. It was the whole hysteria around it. And I think in general, that's what's damaging people more.
I mean, Nigel, he makes a fair point there, Sean, that, at the start of this, of course, like everybody else, there was a lot of hysteria, videos going around of people dropping dead in the streets of China, which turned out, from what we can see from the rest of the world, didn't really happen. I mean, and this, mortality rate of 5%, it's now predicted it's lower than half of 1%. So, do you think there's been too much hysteria around it, Nigel?
No, I don't.
So,
if one of your parents or one of your friends died, you wouldn't think
that's
so?
Not an answer to the question I've asked you. What you're doing is you're making it emotional.
Oh, I see. Well, it's how I respond to a question like that. I can't look at myself in the mirror if I brought the virus into my home and killed my parents. I couldn't survive knowing that fact. So I do everything I can to ensure that stuff does not enter their lives or the other couple I look after. I just can't.
Okay, let me just go to Anne-Marie as well. Anne-Marie, you're on Classic Hits. How you doing, Anne-Marie?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Then Nigel says he couldn't live with himself if indeed, I'm assuming he's not that old. He's sorry, Nigel, I'm making a guess there that you're under the age of 65 anyway. That if he was out and about and picked up the virus, he couldn't live with himself if he brought it home and gave it to an elderly person or somebody more vulnerable.
Well, I would have to agree with him because my mother is cocooning as well, so I would feel very guilty if I brought that into her home. I'm also helping to care for her at the moment. So, if there is no necessity to wear face masks, then why do we need to stand 2 meters apart? There has to be a logic and a rationale for that thinking. So the rationale for standing 2 meters apart is to stop the spread via droplets in the air. So, if they're giving us these details, then, absolutely I think we should wear face masks. I've been wearing them since more or less the beginning. And I found the stigma attached to wearing a face mask in my local Lidl here in Limerick. People would look at you and laugh.
Yeah.
Well, but you're, again, like Nigel, you're caring for somebody who's more vulnerable than you are. And I can understand that. I mean, and by the way, that was probably always the case if you're caring for somebody who's in a vulnerable situation, because before COVID-19 came along, we've many other viruses in this world that we live with on a daily basis.
Of course, they're everywhere. I mean, we know that. They're even in our own system. Once we get a virus,
Absolutely.
our system cages it and we move on from it. But you were saying about how do we limit the collateral damage. I mean, there's always going to be damage, is the way you put it. But, slowing down to 5 km an hour when we drive, and we have to be logical about this. What can we do to help
isn't
slow
that the
down
point
the
I'm
spread
making
of
to
the
Nigel? We have to
The
be logical.
WHO have changed their guidance from 2 metres down to 1 metre. So that doesn't seem to be very, very reasonable either. They don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, but in fairness, that was a financial decision. That wasn't anything else.
Absolutely agree with you, Nigel, yeah.
Yeah.
But it has to be, Nigel, a financial decision, because as much as you can turn around and say you can't put money before lives, yes, you can. And I'll tell you why, because money and wealth is intrinsically linked to health. So if we've no money, and if our businesses collapse all over the country, we have no taxes being paid to the state. If we've no taxes being paid to the state, we can't fund the health service. So we have to look at we have to be logical too, Nigel.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but there's also the fact that the other companies have started up because of this. I mean, there's a pharmaceutical company down in Cork City that hired an extra 500 staff permanently.
Yeah, but be logical. Logically, Nigel, every single day. Only today I'm looking at Marks and Spencer's have put out an announcement, the first raft of redundancies and people being let go. And Debenhams and all the other big retails, the high street stores. These shops are down to 50% capacity. They're not going to survive long.
But how was Marks and Spencer doing before this? And the answer is extremely bad.
I know the high street was already in trouble because online stores like Amazon and places like that were doing quite well. But I get that. But the point is, you're not suggesting to me, Nigel, that we're not going to lose out in our economy big time because of this pandemic. Of course we are.
No, I don't think so, because I spent probably about €1,000 last month on Amazon stuff. And I spend maybe 300 quid per year.
Yeah, but that's going into Jeff Bezos' pockets. It's not going into our government's pocket.
Well, I've lost out.
By the way, who is now officially the richest man in the world, by the way? Did you know that?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah. His turnover is up by 300% in the last 6 months. Why wouldn't it be? All right, listen, let's have a second break. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you to Nigel. And thank you as well to Sean. Keep texting. Keep WhatsApping. The number's 087 188 0008.
If what happened with the monkeys happened with people, would that be any good at all?
That'd be fantastic.